Is there anyone here who doesn't know who Brantley Gilbert is? And are you brave enough to raise your hand? Well, hopefully, over the course of the next hour or so, you'll kind of get a chance to learn more about him. He's had a lot of things happen in his life that we're going to talk about over the last few years. Hopefully, you'll learn something new about him. You'll become more of a fan of his. And then, of course, you get a chance to, ladies, you can smell what he smells like, and get your picture taken with him. Of all the questions that we had submitted in advance, I don't know why, what do you smell like? What type of cologne do you wear? It kept coming up. I have no, you're all weird freaks, but we love you. So let's bring him out, if you will, please. From Valerie Music Company, please welcome Mr. Brantley Gilbert. Mr. Brantley Gilbert. There we go.
How y'all doing? A little delayed response there. I like it.
We're still waking up. You have to give it a little time to get adjusted.
You been up since 4:30? You could.
A lot of people want to know what you smell like, by the way. It's a big question today.
Well, cigarettes.
Well, it's not deer season yet, is it?
No, it's not.
Deer urine, then, and cigarettes.
That's right. No, it's turkey season, which I've never turkey hunted before. This is a nice couch, by the way.
We're glad you approve.
But I hate turkeys. I hate them.
Hate eating them? You hate looking at them? What
All of the above now. Because they won't let you kill them, and they ugly as all get out. You ever seen the face on a turkey? They ugly. Bad. They are.
mean and ugly. I've dated some people that I would You know what? You're not just mean, but you're ugly too. All right. Well, let's give you a little backstory for those of you who don't know about Brantley. He's a Georgia boy.
That's right.
Still lives in Georgia most of the time. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Not far from your hometown. You're from Jackson County. You now live in Maysville, Georgia, with you and your new wife, Amber.
That's right. We live in Maysville because I went to Jefferson and she went to Commerce, and those are like, it used to be the most heated rivalry in the state of Georgia. And I mean, there's a bridge. The only thing that separates the two towns, they're literally like 5 miles from each other. And it's the only thing that separates them is a river. And the bridge, we used to paint it every year. Like Jefferson, we'd paint the Commerce side red and blue. They'd paint our side black and gold. I mean, we just hated each other. And you weren't supposed to date across the river.
And now you're sleeping with the enemy.
That's right.
As they say.
But we moved to Maysville because it's like neutral territory.
There you go. Well, your house won't get egged during the prom season then, and high school football season.
Oh, no. No, people get shot for that.
If there's one thing I wouldn't do, it would be mess with you. I just want to say that right off the top. You've got a lot of guns. I'm not going to mess with Brantley Gilbert. His bus, by the way, that just pulled up out front, you might see it when you're leaving. Is that gunmetal black? Is that what you call that?
It's like Glock black.
It's like Glock black.
Yeah, man.
Very good.
We had a dude show up at my gate at 3:30 in the morning the other night. You know, we had a stalker girl from Texas, like the weekend right before I got married. It was bad. That was a whole new story.
Stalker girl from Texas.
Oh yeah. You want to go
here,
there?
By the way, stalker girl from. No, she's not here. You're good.
She is. You know you getting locked up. She spent a month in the county jail down there, and she found out that my cousin worked in there. And I mean, she was awful.
Worked in the jail.
Oh yeah, she sang my songs all day and referred to herself as Miss Gilbert. And it was bad. I couldn't get in touch with my fiance at the time. Amber and I weren't married. It was like the week before the wedding. And this girl's at the front gate, and she called a number that you can only call from the gate. Mm-hmm. But she called it from Texas like 2 weeks before then. And then, you know, I told her she was just talking crazy, and apparently she met God and this, that, and the other, and like shook hands with him. And
So she met God and shook hands with him.
Well, I'll get to it. So anyway, she shows up and she calls again, and I'm at home by myself this time. And I was talking to her, and I was like, "Hey, if this is the same girl, like, you know, I'm gonna have to report you. Like, this is a little freaky. You're not supposed to call this number. Nobody has it. I don't know how you found it." She said, "But don't be like that. Just come out and I'll explain it to you." So she's still rambling on this phone. And I called my buddy Brad with the sheriff's department on this phone, and I said, "Hey, you might want to come out here, man." And by this time, I had snuck through the woods up by where we parked the bus and around down by the driveway, and he was like, "Well, where is she now?" I said, "She's in between two dots and behind one." He said, "You got to be in fear for your life." I said, "I'm shaking in my damn boots, Brad." So anyway, she got locked up, and the first thing she said to the cop was, "Well, have you met Jesus?" And he said, "Well, ma'am, I know Jesus is my personal Lord and Savior, but I've never shook hands with the man." "Well, I have. I met him in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I seen him again in Mississippi on my way here from Texas. He told me I was headed in the right direction." I said, "Well, hell, if you headed to jail, he's exactly right." So
Maybe she met Jesus in the cell that night. You
Oh,
don't know.
yeah. And then 3:30 in the morning, about a month ago, I was waiting on my bus driver. It was like, and I usually go to bed between 4 and 6. 'Cause that's the only time at night, in the middle of the night, where people ain't blowing my phone up and I can actually, just hang out. And I called and I answered the phone, and I was expecting it to be my bus driver. And I said, "What's up, man? You ready to come in?" And he said, "It's so cold." I was like, "What?" "It's so cold." I said, and I knew it wasn't him. I was like, "Who is this?" "I don't know." "Well, where are you at?" "I don't know." "Well, stay right there." I went and got my right-hand man lives with us, and he's downstairs. I woke him up. I said, "You go around the right." We got a little drill that we do if we ever think anything's going on at the house, and we both got little 300 blackouts and got them out. And I went around the left, he went around the right, and this guy was standing at our gate. It was pouring down rain. And he had his hands up in there. I said, "Look, you got a gun on you." And he put his hands up in there like that. He was like, "Don't shoot, man. I'm just freezing." And I was like, "Well, where'd you come from?" "I don't know." He said, "I woke up," and he tried to start explaining himself. He was like, "Man, I woke up in a ghost town. There's ghosts chasing me. I woke up at a GD church." And I was like, "Well, what?" "Oh, right across the street. My grandfather, before he died, was part of this group that brought all the historic homes in Jackson County. When they started developing a lot of them, they all brought them across the road to this park. So this dude, what had happened, long story short, so I can save it, he had wrecked on the interstate, which is like 2 miles away. And he'd wandered through the woods and ended up across the street where all these old houses from the Civil War era there, and there's a church, from a real old church, and he must have crawled in it and went to sleep for a minute and woke up in there, and it was just light enough for him to tell then that he thought he's in a ghost town. Like,
He probably saw Jesus. He met Jesus too.
Yeah, so he went to jail too.
Goodness. May I recommend that you and Amber consider leaving Maysville?
Oh, no, we got
the walls are closing in on you.
Yeah, we got an 8-foot fence going up, and I got a sign on the door that says, "We do not call 911." And I think we're just going to have to make an example out of somebody.
Yeah, I know you're a well-protected man. I don't worry too much about you. You're self-protected, and you've also got other protection, so I don't worry too much. But a lot of people don't know this about Brandley, which maybe this is part of your past coming back. You almost became a counselor.
Yeah. Thank God I did. I would have been responsible for more divorce on Facebook, man.
But yeah, you helped. Brandley helped he wanted to be a special needs counselor and a marriage counselor.
That's right.
And now these people are coming to you. Maybe it's part of your past linking up.
Well, my wife is actually going back to school for counseling and therapy right now. She's actually doing.
Is that after you guys got married? She decided.
Yeah, she was working. Yeah, right. I said, "Don't try to use that shit in an argument." You're doing this, that, and you read your book somewhere else.
That's right. That's transference, is what you're doing.
Yeah, this is codependent behavior. But no, she was working. She was a school teacher, and she taught 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade at this little bitty school up the road. And we live in a really low income area, and it's anyway. Some of the families are a little bit rough, and these kids, she just falls in love with them, and a lot of them have really, really difficult home lives. And then when they found out that she was with me, they started bringing stacks of papers to school to sign, and parents were setting up parent-teacher conferences and asking her for money, you know. It was just a bad deal, so she had to resign. And my cousin is actually has been a counselor and a therapist, a Christian counselor and therapist, and one of the most coveted in the Southeast, and has been for about 20, 30 years. And she's working with him and a couple veterans, and they're teaming up with another nonprofit organization. It's called, what they're starting is called the Blue Heart Initiative. And instead of bringing just the troops in, or just, you know, the veterans, or just the families, they're bringing the entire family. We have
great.
2 houses that border Maysville, where they'll come and the whole family can stay for several days and come in and receive therapy, you know, as a family and then individually throughout a week, and, you know, stay in the house for free and do all that. So it's called the Blue Heart Initiative. She's pretty excited about it. Stoked.
That's awesome. And especially with, you know, you do a lot with the military and folds of honor and wounded warriors and stuff like that. I think probably if we were to point the fingers at ourselves as a nation, probably one of our greatest disgraces has been how slow we have been over the years to respond to a lot of the PTSD things, and people who do 3, 4, 5 tours overseas and they don't come home and get the counseling they need. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, man, it's a sad deal. I'm telling you, Vietnam was bad, but if you look since then, it's we kind of just got better about covering it up. You know, it's been out in the media. There's all this support for the military, but then when it gets down to from the government, then when it gets down to the bare bones of it, it's like, okay, you're saying this, but what the hell are you doing? Because, you know, obviously you look at the 22 kill thing. You know, with that many veterans committing suicide, something's not adding up. You know, if you're administering the care and the health you say you are. So we do everything we can, but you know, that's definitely something. I think when you gave PTSD a name, like my mom's side of the family was a military family, and you know, I saw my uncles deal with it, but I never understood what it was. You know, and now that it has a name, you know, it's real easy for people to, you know, especially the government, to say, yeah, we're working as hard as we can, you know, to help these vets that are dealing with PTSD. And it's not, you know, just the physical problems they come back with. I think, you know, I don't understand it. I've never been myself, but, you know, from what I understand, the hardest battles up here, and, you know, I do have a lot of experience dealing with that. So I'm a little bit nutty from time to time.
A little crazy.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the nutty past of Brantley Gilbert.
Ooh-wee.
Brantley Gilbert, this is your life.
That's right.
You
Juicy.
I know. You released your first album when you were 19. Kind of an independent project you put together. But at that time in your life, you were a little bit more of a hard partier than you are now. True?
It's getting a little hot in here. Hold on a minute.
A hard partier. Ladies, this is your opportunity for a photo op. I don't know. I've probably met Brantley 11 times. I've never seen him without his hat on. So there you go.
I'm not bald. A lot of people think I'm bald.
It's all right, Kenny Chesney. We don't judge you like that.
You get swung on. Like, I mean, I like Kenny, though.
Cut that part out. That won't make the live stream.
Man, you the first person ever had guts to call me something like that. He's a nice man.
Bless his heart. Are you going to follow that with bless his heart?
Bless his heart, yeah.
Bless his heart.
He like this dude literally at the show when we were on tour with him. He like tans during the day. I'm on my bus just working my ass off, and it's just, you know, on the phone doing a million things, and I look out the bus window and he's just got the sunglasses on laying out in the sun. It must be nice. But you know, you work is, but the honest to God truth is, not a lot of people know this. That man has, you know, more so than the majority of the people in the business, as far as his fans go, his really dedicated fans, he does more work and has done more for fans than a lot of people realize.
We poke fun, but he's really a great model for treating your fans well, respecting the music. He always puts on a great show. And you've been out on tour with him, so you know.
For sure.
Well, when you were 19, I should say it, don't spray it.
That's right.
When you were 19, you released your first album. It was an independent project. But you had some songs on there that people ended up coming to know, one of which from Jason Aldean, that you wrote, that Jason went back and re-recorded and made a huge #1 hit for you.
Yeah, that was a pretty interesting little deal there. It started off with Dirt Road Anthem. You know, that whole process both of those songs were on the same record. Not a lot of people know he cut The Best of Me, which is another song off that first record, on the record before that. It was an iTunes release. But that was the first outside cut I ever had. And, you know, it was a really good thing for my career. A lot of people didn't understand it. They thought I sold my song, and thought he stole it. And I had to get on YouTube and do a video and basically explain to people that Jason Aldean did not put on a black ski mask and break into my house and make off of my songs.
Jason Aldean helped pay for those 8-foot fences.
Yeah, he did. It got me I got a good truck out of that deal. But no, the truth of the matter was, the way it all shook down, we were, at the time, we weren't signed with a big machine, and we were kind of entertaining offers from labels, and there was a major label that had a deal on the table, and they were really, really pushing for Dirt Road Anthem to be my first single. And we ended up turning the deal down and not signing them with them, because it was just a constant back and forth battle, and they weren't going to let me use my band in the studio. Scott lets me use my band, and they wanted me to cut outside songs, and I write everything we release. So there were just some points like that we argued over, but as far as that being my first single, I was in a place in my career where it's, all right, this would have been my debut single at radio, and it would have been a song that's at that point in country music way outside the box. And so number one, it'd have been really, really hard to battle that one at radio as a new artist. Number two, what do you follow it with? Because I wanted to go with something that really reflected more what we do, and that's you know, the rocking side of things. And Dirt Road Anthem had a little rap twist to it, a little R&B twist to it. So, and just wasn't a song that I wanted to release as a single right off the bat as my first. And when he called and asked about doing it, you know, I thought it was a great idea, because number one, and this actually did go through my mind. It wasn't hindsight, but I was like, you know what? If he releases that song, that opens a lot of doors for me. You know, because if country radio will play that, then there's a lot of stuff I got in my catalog in that vein, and there's a lot of things that we do outside of the box. You know, we'll have a little bit wider doorway to get through. So,
how does a phone call like that go? Does Jason call you directly? Do his people call your people?
No, that one come through Colt at first, and then I got on the phone with Aldean, and he talked about cutting My Kind of Party and Dirt Road, and he said he wanted to single them both. And this is the way I look at it. Both of those records, or both of those songs are on records of mine. We play them every night live. They'll always be my songs, you know, and the people that I wrote them for and about have heard them and can hear them anytime they want to, hear us doing them. So, you know, I just look at it as sharing. And he did a good. There's the funniest things, you'll get people that to this day, man, he just tore that song up. I don't know why you let him. But it's like, the truth is, like, when it comes to things like that, once you hear a song one way, we call it demoitis. It doesn't matter. Some of the songs that we cut on records, when I bring them into the studio, they're just little guitar vocals, and it's a little cell phone recording. But once you listen to it so many times, you start figuring out the little things you like in that little demo. Mm-hmm. And then when they're not on the full production, you know, version of the song, it's like, this sucks. You know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, people get used to, you know, they fall in love with something one way, and then when it's changed, you know, it happens a lot with songwriters and things like that, or people who, now with YouTube and all the social media, a lot of times songwriters or independent artists will put something out, people will get to know it, and then somebody will go in and record it and make it an actual single. It makes it on the radio, and they go, I remember when that song was done by so-and-so.
Right.
But, hey, look, it helped you, it helped him. I think everyone's happy of Dirt Road Anthem. And
yeah, I ain't mad at
him.
I ain't mad at him at all.
I was going to say, I didn't think you two would be getting sideways over that at all. Let me ask you about a date. We were talking about your hard party in life. December 18th, 2011. Why is that date important to you?
That's my new birthday. That was the last time that was the first day that I went without a drink or any of my other little habit that went kind of side and
Dalliances.
side with that. Yeah. So that was the first day I'd spent since I could remember sober. And this December 18th, it'll be 5 years.
That's
So-
admirable. Congratulations. I think one of the things that people may not realize about you is that a lot of the songs that you've written and sang, including the ones about partying hard and fast to live in and all that, those are true stories. I mean, you were not an altar boy when you were growing up in Georgia.
The crazy part was I did start out playing a lot of music, and like I started in a little church band, and then I played with a praise and worship band. We played with groups like Jars of Clay and Third Day and stuff, way back in the day.
As the story goes, though, when you were in your mid-teens, you used to tell your mom that you were going to play praise music,
yeah.
but you'd be at a bar playing Hellraiser music.
The first time I got caught, it was really stupid. And being young, but I thought it was a great idea to tell my parents, you know, I was supposed to be grounded or something. I don't remember what the deal was. And I was like, well, I'm going to go up to Gatlinburg and play Winter Blast with this band. It was like Winter Blast 2000 or something. And I'm like, okay. And I stayed in town, and I was hanging out with this dude that was several years older than me, and we were riding around drinking beer. And I remember we went to some high school. We were like drinking. We were shooting it. They had a bunch of feral cats and stuff. We were trying to sight in some rifles. Anyway, neither here nor there. We ended up, there was a new bar in town called Mike's Down Under, and it was the first bar Jefferson had ever had, ever. And I thought it was pretty interesting. He said, let's go down there. It didn't click in my mind, all right, I can hit that bar with a rock if I'm standing in the yard of my house, my parents' house. So here I am, and granted, we've had a few beers before we walked in there, you know, and I decided to bring my own beer in.
So as a teenager, you walk into a bar with your own beer a half a block away from your mom.
Like 15 or 16, yeah. And the guy comes up and he was like, hey, we're not sure you're old enough to have that. We're going to need you to pour it out. I said, cool. So he proceeded to kick my butt out. And on the way out the door, this guy was up playing guitar and singing. And he said, hey, are you Brantley Gilbert? And I said, yeah. And he said, I heard you got a couple songs you wrote. And I said, well, yeah. He said, man, everybody in this bar is my good friends and family, and I've played everything I got about 3 times, and they probably wouldn't mind hearing something else. You want to get up and play a few? Says it going to keep me from getting kicked out by this dude. And he said, yeah, I imagine it would. I said, sure. And I sat down, and it was actually Corey Smith. And for those of you who don't know who Corey is, he's another singer-songwriter from my town. He's unbelievable. One of my, still to this day, one of my main inspirations and influences when it comes to songwriting. And I ended up touring with him for about 3 years after that, 3, 4, maybe, hell, almost 5, because it was, I was 16, I was still touring with him around 2021. So, yeah, we started, he had 2 markets that we hit. It was Dahlonega and Mike's. And then we branched out and went to Georgia Southern, which was a party school, man. It was like, yeah, all these places. And I'm seeing all this when I'm like 16. And drinking, so it started, you know, the drinking and the stuff started way back then. You know, after 11 years of that, my body finally just started telling me, hey, man, I'm going to quit on you if you don't chill out. So it was that time.
Well, in that time, you met who's now your wife, and you guys knew each other. You guys knew each other 10, 12 years ago. Mm-hmm. But then you lost touch. You guys drifted apart. You were doing the music thing. She was not doing the music thing. She was being a responsible teenager, I'm sure,
That's right.
young adult. How did you guys, because it's a great story, when you're with somebody, you fall apart for whatever the reason is. How was that moment that you kind of came back together again? And did you know, like,
oh yeah,
I'm in a place now that this is what I want?
Well, it went down. We'd known each other for 12 years. I was actually working in her church when I met her. She was in a youth group. I was like, let's see, I was probably 20 and she was 17, and it was like an older youth group. Wasn't like you know what I mean. And my cousin, who I was talking about that she's doing the nonprofit with, their families have always been close as well, and he was a youth minister there. And I was working on some community service hours. I know that sounds...
Is that court-ordered community service you were
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, that stuff happens from time to time.
And I just had this pattern in my life where I'd do great for a minute, and then all of a sudden now I need to go screw up so I can learn something the hard way. I had a really weird way of learning. It was just, living to learn and doing really stupid things sometimes. And granted, I will look back and say that there was a lot of kids doing some of the stuff I was doing. It's just all about who gets caught. I got caught a few times, but the stuff I didn't get caught doing was, it's eventually, either it almost kills you. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. The reason we stopped seeing each other actually was now about 7 years ago. Her mother and she had been at ends, and they were always really, really close. They were like sisters almost, and it was over me. And she knew that half the guys I run around with, her mom knew from high school, and they were bad apples then. They were still bad apples now, And I was running with a group that really, a couple times that we ended, we were off and on. A couple times I ended it because I was hanging around with people that I didn't trust around her. I knew eventually I was going to be in some trouble, and these are some motorcycle guys that are kind of proud of being bad, and for some reason I was attracted to that and thought that was something I wanted to do, and so and the drinking and stuff was bad, and we had a conversation one night, and that was basically my end, and her end was, well, I do love you, and I would love to marry you, she said, but it just terrifies me. Her dad actually died about 3 years ago from the same stuff I was doing, and she said, it terrifies me, actually think about being married to somebody who keeps a bottle of Jaeger or two with them. And I did. I carried around a black bag, had 2 bottles of Jaeger and a pistol and some other stuff in it, and my songwriting stuff, and it went everywhere I went. I mean, every songwriting meeting that I took in Nashville, I had it with me. It was kind of a well-known thing around town. I'd drink with you, and we'd still write a hell of a song. But
and if not, you got the pistol.
Yeah,
that's motivation for a good song.
Yeah, I'm getting out of here one way or another. But yeah, it turned into something. People will tell you throughout your life that the people that love you and care about you the most will stick with you no matter what. And I found that was not true in all cases. A lot of the people that loved and cared about me the most are people that said, you know what, man, if that's what you're about right now, I can't be a part of it. And she was one of those. So fast forward to June of 13 or 14? 14, yeah. I got a call from my cousin, same guy that was, the guy I was telling you about, and he said, look, man, he said, I got somebody that's in town that wouldn't mind saying hey to you, and I know, you mentioned a while back you wouldn't mind seeing her, and I knew exactly who he was talking about. I was supposed to leave the next day to go to California and do some stuff, and I was stopping in Nashville on the way. I was going to be gone for 5 days, and I said, well, when does she want to get together, and talk? And he said, she's going to be in town for a couple weeks, I know you're probably busy and you got stuff going on. I said, what's weird, Doug, is I'm off this entire week, and I lied. So I called and canceled everything I was doing, and the next day I went to his house, and we decided that was kind of, probably the best place to meet, and he kind of...
Neutral ground.
Yeah, I pulled up in the driveway, and I was sitting in my truck going, all right, man, no matter what, single for life, single for life, single for life. Because I'd been through that other one, and that was, after that went downhill, I was like, yep, I'm done. And
would you be alluding to that other country music singer just then? Is that what you were alluding to?
Yeah.
That one?
Yeah.
She who shall not be named.
Well, don't get me wrong, she's a good person. I will never in my life say that she's a bad person. She's not a bad person. We just weren't for each other.
You had a
what I mean?
quote about that. your quote was, and I want to get this right, sometimes shit don't work. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah. I think I
Sometimes
was
shit
really
don't work.
frustrated. That wasn't an interview here, was it?
No.
Yeah, that some guy kept asking me and kept asking me and kept asking. I was like, look, dude, sometimes shit don't work.
I think that sums it up, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes two people just aren't compatible. Shit don't work.
Yeah, I remember telling my parents that too. My parents, they're divorced now, but they're for a little while. They were just at each other, and my little brother was not graduated yet, and they were trying to stay together too. I was like, look, the same thing. Sometimes shit don't work. You people are driving me crazy. I don't even like coming home no more. You hollering at each other, and he take it out on me. Don't holler at me.
So, all right, in between you and Amber going your separate ways, you kept up with the lifestyle you were on until December 18th, 2011.
That's right.
Obviously, you moved on, had some relationships, some high-profile ones, some low-profile ones, single for life. Then you had this meeting with her at your buddy's house, cousin's house. Did you know? I mean, you
Well,
were a
she
different person than she knew when you guys broke up. You were completely different.
And that's the only reason Doug and they had talked to her a few months before we even said anything. She was going through some things at the time, and because she'd moved on as well, and gone a different route. And we both, where I built my house that we live in now is 3 miles from her mama's house, and I put it right across from that park because it reminded me of my papa, one, but number two, because when she came home from school, she had to pass that summit every time. It was
And
like
did you
that
build
Sam
that
Hunt song.
when you two weren't talking?
Oh,
You were
yeah.
thinking about that when you built that
Oh,
house?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Boy. Everyone's got to have an angle.
Yeah, and I was drinking then too, so I was like, put that summit right there. You can see it from the road. He said, man, we can tuck it back off. No, I want it right there. And I want a bunch of lights on it.
That's right. Sometimes shit don't work out. Put it right in.
Put it right there.
So she walks into the room. Did you know at that moment, like, this is my destiny? Did you know at that moment?
She walked around the corner of the house and all that tough guy shit just went out the window. It was like, oh, all right, well, there it is.
And you guys have been married since June 28th of last year. Congratulations.
We made it a year and a couple of days after that day.
That's all guys clapping, by the way. None of the women are happy to hear that.
Yeah, I
just
know.
so you know.
I get it. She's on the bus doing schoolwork right now. She did her first class, and then she decided it was a great idea to take two of them at the same time. So she works on school all day.
So, you mentioned all the tough guy shit went out the window as soon as she walked around that corner.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about you crying like a baby at your wedding.
Oh man, dude, y'all, I shit you not, it was awful. Well, I wrote this my vows were some things that were age old, and when you have something like that has that much history, you know, I mean, in
Did you use
half
Google,
of my
by the way,
career.
for any of that? Did
What's
you?
that?
You're a songwriter, so you're a writer. Did you use Google to help with your vows at all?
Oh no.
All from the heart.
Oh yeah, man.
Love it.
The deal is with her. I've sung songs half of my career that were about her, you know, and I had to be without her. She was the one that got away, and I'm one of the most blessed people I know that's not only able to love but to marry the one that got away, and that's a pretty interesting thing. She's got love songs about her that are 10 years old, 12 years old. She's got breakup songs about her that are 8, 10 years old. She's got some songs that she'll never hear that are on the soon to never be released album.
And we're gonna self-title that. We're gonna title it "Sometimes Shit Don't Work."
Yeah.
It's gonna be the name of that.
Yeah, there you go.
Never to be released album.
That's right. But you sing all these songs, and I feel like if you write songs the right way, with the way I perform, you relive them every time, and you learn something different. And you learn how to cope with it, but it's also alive and well every time you play a show. So all that kind of came to a head. Plus, she was, man, you ought to seen her. She was absolutely gorgeous, and we got
beautiful.
married right there in the backyard, and it was just, I started. Her dad wasn't there. Neither one of my grandfathers were there, and some of the stuff I said, tied into them. Just about, I want them to be able to look down and be proud of who we are as husband and wife, and be proud of the way I treat her and the way I carry myself when she's not around. Because given what I do for a living, I mean, I don't think I have to tell y'all that there can be some really uncomfortable situations. One of them happened about a month ago. I was shaking hands down in the crowd, and all of a sudden, when I came back up, a pair of underwear somehow got caught on that bracelet.
I hate when that happens. It's
Man.
so uncomfortable.
And I went to do like that, and I had bright pink thongs hanging out. Shit. I got them off of me like that, And it turns out
And they
she
were
was
about that wide. They were...
it was thick right there. but no, I had a feeling in the back of my. She knows how things are, but from where she was sitting, I just knew it in my head. I guarantee it looked like I was holding them up, which is disgusting. Number one. I used to have these
that
things
is
when we played
shameful is
clubs.
what that is. You would never hold up a pair of...
I don't understand that.
Never.
Women used to do that back in like the 70s and 80s, like at Elvis. But Jesus, women, come on, like especially if they could be a parachute, keep him some of his own.
Ladies, keep your drawers on, is what Brantley Gilbert
But
was
anyway,
saying.
she's this tall, and she told PJ, who's my head of security, he stands with her while I'm on stage, and she said, PJ, and she, yes, ma'am. She said, I'm gonna need you to take me to the pit. And he said his eyes got real wide. That was the first time he's had to tell her no,
Yeah,
He
that
wouldn't
probably
take it.
wouldn't end well. She wanted to go out there and whoop a little butt. But
Yeah.
it's true, with what you do for a living, it takes, and this is true of female artists and male artists, it takes an incredibly strong bond of trust. It takes an incredibly strong partner because of the situations that you're in. There's incredible opportunity. There are people who always want to be with you and near you, and you've got a great group around you, but it takes a very strong, very special person to deal with somebody in the public life like that.
It doesn't. She was around in the beginning where we started getting, a lot of attention. We go to clubs, and it was when people had started acting a little bit different, and they started treating us a little bit different, which is the hardest part about my job, being away from home. I used to fuss about that till we went to Kuwait, and we went on a USO tour, and I'm meeting people that are on 12-month tours, and the conflict's supposed to be over for the most part. Just so I can't really bitch about being away from home a lot anymore. But
Amen.
the hardest part of my job is like going places and having people, that don't really know me well enough to know that, dang man, he's just like us, if not a little bit goofier. But that makes it difficult sometimes, because people put you up here, and the way I live my life, I moved back home so that I wouldn't get outside of who I am. I want to stay that way, and at home, the guys that I ride motorcycles with are just one group of people that, out of many that aren't afraid to tell me and jerk a knot in my ass if they feel like I'm getting out of line or acting.
It's good to keep you grounded.
Yeah.
Because it'd be so easy if you didn't have those people in your life to be like #1 hits and making good money and concerts and sellout crowds and I'm on the radio. I mean, you need people to go, you're just that kid.
Yeah.
That almost got
So
kicked out of a bar.
what?
Yeah, you're just that kid that grew up down the street from me. I think that's, and people, you can tell people who have that in their lives versus people that don't necessarily have that in their lives. So I'm glad to hear that you've got that still grounded group back home that keeps you there.
For sure. It's like, I was talking to Justin Moore about it. He still lives in Arkansas. And I moved to Nashville for about 9 months. And while that shit don't work was going on, and we had this house, man, it was ridiculous. It was in Brentwood, really nice part of town. It was in like a subdivision. Me and the subdivision don't work. I got guns and I like to shoot them. And like the homeowners association had a problem right off the bat with us, But and we had a pool.
That doorbell ring that came to the Brantley Gilbert house. Excuse me, Is that your AK-47? We don't allow that here in the bridges of Brentwood.
Yes, ma'am, it is. There's about 10 more of them in the basement. You don't get the hell out of here. You're going to meet one of them. But no, we had a pool, right? And I remember when the whole thing was shaking down, I was looking around the house, and I was like looking at that pool, and it got to where every time I looked at it, I'd like frown at it. I hated it because I cannot sit. It was, even on our honeymoon, man, I can't sit still for that long. Like, my wife loves laying out in the sun and that kind of thing, but we had a pool at this house. I'm thinking, I freaking hate pools because I can't sit beside them and watch the world go by. I mean, when I used to drink, that's one thing. We go to the beach, you know. I mean, we're gonna throw down, we're gonna party. But now, I like wintertime probably than I like summer, to be honest, because we get to go on hunting trips and that kind of thing. So that's my vacation. Now I like to kill stuff.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute. You're a hunter, a deer hunter, not a turkey hunter.
That's right.
So what, are you a bow hunter?
Mm-hmm.
What's your bow of choice?
Well, actually, I got a new one. I've shot a Matthews. I've always hunted with a Matthews, but when I like shoot or whatever for some of the competitions we do, I shoot a Bowtech, and I just got a new one. It's a Chris Kyle edition Bowtech, and they only made so many of them, and it's pimped out. It's like, so I love it.
American Sniper.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It's freaking sick.
The
I
deer
love
sniper, Brantley Gilbert.
That's right.
All right, we got a couple. We've got some questions from the audience, but we had some winners on Twitter that got the chance to ask you a question.
Twitter winner.
Twitter winner. Where's Ashley? Where's Ashley? There's Ashley. Ashley wanted to know, would you prefer, if you had a choice, a classic hot rod like a Chevelle or a newer hot rod like a Lamborghini?
Oh, Chevelle all the way. Yeah. I'm an old school dude. I've got a 68. You know, my kind of party, it talks about firing up 68.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 68 Mercury Cougar. It's not exactly a hot rod, but it was when I had my wreck, I had to have a vehicle, and I got like an awesome deal on that thing and fixed it up. So the lights, do y'all remember, some of you might be old enough to remember that, where the lights like fold up out of the hood? They still work. And you can't find them anymore that on Cougars that really work. Like the vacuuming system in them sucks, but they still work. So it's awesome. It's in 1 million pieces in the garage right now.
We're going to get back to Cougars in just a minute. I got something to ask you about that.
That's dirty.
That's
not me, that's my brother. He's 26 and he's infatuated with older women.
Let's get into it now. We're into the groove here. You had mentioned your brother was a cougar hunter, but you had also said that Amber violated your age rules when it came to dating, and you had to accept that. So what were the Brantley Gilbert age rules for dating?
She was 26. My cutoff was 24.
And wait, how old were you at the time?
29, 30, 30.
All right, so you're 29 or 30, and your upper end cutoff was 24.
Yeah.
You're not, have you ever dated an older woman?
No.
You know what? Me either.
Here's the deal. Between, 20 and 24, most women are at an age where they want to have fun. They want to be young, and they want to, they're not so caught up in the, I'm going to tie you down and marry you kind of thing. You know what I mean? 'Cause it's like a lot of them are in college, and, a lot of them are, like I said, just in the stage of their life where they want to have fun.
Single for life.
That's right. And then you get above that 24 mark, and they're getting into, well, all my friends.
Then you have to be the date for baby showers and weddings.
You start looking at that hand when you're with them all the time. Like,
what do you think of my nail?
My sister has something on that finger.
And my cousin's getting married, and I'm not getting any younger.
Right.
Yeah. All right, so I just wanted to know. You had said something about your age cutoff, your upper age limit.
Yeah.
But your brother, opposite. He's Cougar Town.
Yeah, it makes no sense. I don't, and I think, I think he's a gold digger, number one.
He wants that pension money, is what he
wants.
wants.
He says, man, them older women know what they doing, man. Like, that's all you need to say to me.
God bless him. All right, where is Lisa? Lisa Bauer. Where's Lisa?
I do not believe Lisa made it for the show.
Oh, well, we're going to ask her a question anyhow, because I think it's good. It's a two-part question. What would you want to be remembered for in 50 years besides your music? That's number one.
you know, I say sometimes that God blessed me with a platform a lot bigger than I need. He gave me a lot more spotlight than I need or care to have. And, you know, I would like to be able to, you know, people to be able to look back and say, you know, especially like guys that work for me and with me. You know, one of my ultimate goals in this business is to have every single one of them be able to look back and say, you know what, I didn't agree with everything he did, but he did right by me. At the end of the day, he made sure he did right by me. And, you know, that's, you know, a lot of times people get caught up in the crossed arm pictures and the tattoos and things, but really the core of me, I mean, I think more than anything, I want to be a good husband and a good father. So.
I think that's fantastic. Second part is much lighter. Some levity for you.
Okay.
Can you wiggle your ears? It's not. Look, people. It's not my question. Don't be mad at me. You know the whole thing where you can.
Oh,
wiggle
you
your
can
ears?
totally do it. Your
Can
damn
you?
ears moving.
Buddy, I can get her done.
Yeah, I can. No. I can wiggle a lot of things. I don't know, man. Wiggling's more like a Luke Bryan deal.
What is it about? Ma'am, whatever you want him to wiggle, that's for the meet and greet in just a little bit. Let's talk about Georgia for a second. You bring up Luke. We touched on, without mentioning his name, Cole Swindell by talking about Georgia Southern. I call it the Georgia Mafia in country music right now. And there are so many artists that have come out of Georgia. I mean, you can go down the list all the way back to Alan Jackson and Trisha Yearwood and Travis Tritt, but now the Zac Brown Band and Luke Bryan and yourself and Cole Swindell. There's so many people from Georgia. What about it? What about the music scene there? What about Georgia has become this big phenomenon where it's probably 30 or 40% of everybody you hear on the radio is from Georgia now?
You know, I think a lot of it was there for a while, and a lot of this has changed. I actually have some friends that work with up-and-coming artists in Georgia, and for a long time when I came on the map, when especially this like age, like your Luke Bryans and your Aldeans, like Luke and I remember playing buildings when I was still in college, and I'd show up and he'd have posters in there, and it looked like his senior picture. But he, you know, where he was coming to play this venue that we were at, and you know he'd have posters up, and so we were playing a lot of the same venues. But there was a college circuit in the southeast that a lot of Georgia boys got on. Georgia Southern was a huge town for breaking out music. And a lot of it, there was a chain of bars too that this group of guys owned. That they had different locations, like in Carrollton, West Georgia, and it just.
So it'd build like a little tour network built in.
Yeah, and it was almost a competition. Like, okay, well, we know that there's a huge live music market, but how many people are you bringing? You know, and how many can we make enough money here to pay for gas to get here? And it's, you know, the live music scene there was a thing where a lot of the bar owners understood our side of things too. It's like, man, we're trying to get somewhere with this. We don't just want it to stop right here. So a lot of them would do door deals with us. You know, you come in and play for $300 or $100 or something a couple times, but eventually you get to where you come in, you play for the door or a percentage of the door. And, you know, every time you play there, your deal gets a little bit better and your crowd gets a little bit bigger.
There's not a lot of states. I mean, you know, around here, Delaware, Maryland, PA, there's some of that going on, but it doesn't quite have that network where an artist like in Texas, in Georgia, in northern Florida, I mean, you can really stay busy for several months out of the year and not repeat a place to play, can't you?
Right. We had a business model that was real simple. It was breaking in the markets and maintaining markets without oversaturating them. And that's the hardest part. So you don't want to come in. If you can hit a market once, twice a semester at the most, and you go by college semesters, then we'd always come back home. All of us would come back home for, you know, around Thanksgiving, around Christmas, and we'd do shows year-round there because you got all the people that are coming home from all over the country, and they're starting to see what's going on. And by this time, you know, if you got a record, you get as many of them out as you can in Georgia. Then you make enough money where you can get gas money to get to South Carolina or Florida or Alabama You know, and we literally just branched out like that, and it got to a point where, you know, you got a guy named Scott Borchetta coming out to a show at the Exit Inn in Nashville going, how in the world do these people know all these songs?
Right.
How many times has he played here? Scott asked that question. He asked my manager, he says, how many times has he played in Nashville? And Rich went, never. He was like, then how do these people know these songs? Because once you get that market reached out, and these people, anybody from this town, say when we come here and it's a blast and everybody, you know, has a good time there, anybody that visits them from out of state that comes to that show, you know, you pass the message to them. And it took a lot of patience and, you know, a lot of work, but, you know, it definitely paid off for the better. The part that's killing them now is it's really the live music scene's changing a lot in Georgia and in the Southeast. You don't really have, you know, the same deals going on. A lot of these bar owners made a lot of good money, and they're a little older now, and they're, you know, passing these bars down to other people. And they, from what I understand, it's really hard to get any more than just a set fee to come in and play. Plus social media, I have a love-hate relationship with social media. You know, with your
You just don't
YouTube
want to get
things and things like
catfished.
that.
That's what you don't want to get catfished on social media, do you?
Man, dude, have you ever watched that show? That's
I have. Do you guys know
show.
what catfishing is on social media?
The best one I saw, though, I did see one. I was flipping through the channels one time, and I was like, I just, for some reason, I like started watching this show, and the episode was, this guy he was married, but he'd fallen in love with this person somehow online or whatever, and it was this model-looking girl, and this guy's wife.
Red flag number 1, by the way.
Yeah, and this guy's wife was like aware of the situation and was like, you know, I just want to be able to move on with my life. If you need to meet her, then just go meet her. Well, they bring the cameras and they pull up, and this dude, like, they're sitting in the parking lot, and this car comes hauling ass in the parking lot, jerks in, like, slams it in park, and this big-ass muscular dude jumps out like that, and he's like, let's go. This dude was catfishing married men because apparently his wife had cheated on him, met somebody online. Y'all seen that one?
Oh.
I love that one. He was like, go kick dude's ass. Where's your wife, mother?
And he looked at her and said, sometimes shit don't work out.
It's
I gotta
shit
go."
don't work. Go to the house, homie. Go to the house.
Sometimes shit don't work out. All right, well, I think all of you are probably pretty anxious to meet Brantley and have a picture with him.
Bless your heart.
Would you agree? So thank you for coming here. I know you got the big show tonight in Hershey. You got Michael Ray, who we adore, one of our favorite people. Kanan Smith. Hopefully he's feeling better. He'd been down with the flu the last couple of days. But you guys are going to throw it down tonight at the Giant Center in Hershey.
Oh, yes, going down. I talked to him both earlier today on text. I think he is feeling a little bit better, so
Yeah.
he should be ready to rock it. How many of y'all coming tonight? Yeah? I see a lot of hands that ain't up. The hell's wrong with you? Give you ticket?
Has he told you about the guns? Has he mentioned the guns yet? No? All right. Well, Brantley, thank you for being here. How about a hand for Mr. Brantley Gilbert? We're going to get you guys lined up. Taylor and Zoe and some of the staff from WXCY are going to line you up by rows. We're going to start in the back of the room. Best seats for the interview, worst seats for the meet and greet, but that's okay. So we'll start getting you guys lined up. Again, just a reminder, because he's got to go sound check in Hershey for the show tonight. Picture, say hello, obviously, but autographs and stuff. Once you kind of start down that road, it becomes a little bit of a long process. We want to make sure everyone has time to get a good picture with Brantley and has a chance to say hello. So thank you for being here. Thank you again to our sponsors, Country Chrysler, Dodge Jeep and Ram, Canby Motors Collision Repair, Level Home Services, and everybody for making it possible. And thank you for being here today, too. We appreciate you.